Ball to talk about this.
Yeah, so the board and the public probably recalls that we recently hired GKO to do the design for the next three renovations at Souderton Hills, West Broad, and Indian Crest. So they're the architects. Under our current renovations, we're doing this through a GIZA process, Guaranteed Energy Savings Act, and you use an ESCO, which is an energy service company, to do those projects, right? During that time, we selected GKO. We did say that we would be going out for an RFQ, RFP, to select the ESCO companies to do those projects. And with the consultation with our solicitor, we prepared an RFQ document and sent that out in the fall. We specifically solicited from 5 companies that we had relationships with or knew of or were represented in the industry. With that advertisement, we also had, I believe, 4 more that requested the RFP. We got back 5 proposals. We vetted those proposals through a committee of various people, and we have the information here in the background. After reviewing those 5 proposals, we then selected 3 to interview. And the interview team was Dr. Gallagher, myself, Mr. Ball, Dr. Heller over the assistant principal at Indian Valley, and Mr. Durstein, the building manager at Franconia. Those 2 were selected because they are part of the buildings that are currently undergoing renovations, so they've had experience with the projects, with the ESCO process and everything, and so we thought they'd have a good valuable insight, and obviously they'd be looking at things from a different angle than myself or Mr. Ball would. And then our architects on the jobs, since we are asking these ESCO companies to coordinate the planning over the next 6 months with GKO, we wanted to be part of the design process. It's a little different than we did for the recent ones, but instead of having the ESCOs here's the design, now we'll price it, oh, by the way, we got questions about this, this, and this, or why didn't we do it this way? They're gonna work side by side over the next 6 months to make sure that it's a nice collaborative effort. So that's really the reason why we're doing this. So tonight's process is we're making a recommendation to which ESCOs to award these projects to, but we're just gonna ask to be able to issue a letter of intent. There's gonna be no cost, really no guarantee really as far as energy expenditures until they finalize a GIZA contract. So they coordinate over the next 6 months or so with GKO, late summer, early fall. The ESCOs that we select will price it out like we've done in our previous arrangements. That's when we officially accept the GIZA contract, okay? Now through this RFQ process, the main purpose was for those 3 future projects, but we've had the issue with the Indian Valley roof that we discussed recently that we need to replace starting this summer. We'll be doing that under the GIZA as well, so we're adding that to the letter of intent. In 2 weeks, we're gonna come back to the board, we'll talk about the next presentation about awarding that GIZA as well. So after the interviews, we had 3 very, very competent companies that we were successful going with any of the 3, right? And it wasn't fun telling the unsuccessful participants that, we're not using them. They go, well, what did we do wrong? And we had to tell them, you didn't do anything wrong, you were great, and if we didn't have strong competition, you guys would have been eligible to get all 3 jobs, right? So, but after careful consideration of everything and vetting the process, and there's multiple factors in the GIZA agreement of how we decided to partner these buildings up, right? Because under the GIZA agreement, there's certain things that can be qualified under a Guaranteed Energy Savings Act, and there's some things that aren't, but you have an allowance of up to 15%. So we are doing an addition at West Broad to replace the modulars. That will require public bid, just like we did at Indian Valley. So the stuff in the building will be GIZA, but we'll have a public bid portion. At Souderton Hills and Indian Crest, we don't really have much that's gonna be non-GIZA. We'll have potentially a small bump out on Souderton Hills that we think will fit under the 15%, but by combining the 2 under the same contract, we're more than confident we get everything GIZA without any public bid at those 2 schools. So that's the rationale behind teaming up Souderton Hills and Indian Crest and having West Broad separate. Doing 3 projects at once, we thought this was definitely a very good opportunity to have some other players involved and see, market conditions and everything like that. SiteLogic's been a great partner with us, and they have some very strong players, and we're really excited for them to get the 2 facilities, but they're also doing a lot of other stuff with us currently. And then ICS, we are recommending for West Broad, based on their presentations, their proposals, and interviews. We thought they'd be a great candidate for that school. And SiteLogic we want to retain for Indian Crest and South Hills, but we also want to add in that we will be using them for Indian Valley's roof. Makes sense, obviously, since they're there and they've been really managing it with us as we've been going through the record rainfall we've been getting in the last month. So that's the recommendation. What we are asking the board to do is to move to the 25th agenda, giving us authorization to issue those letters of intent so they can start working with GKO. So I open up up to any questions about the process or our selection, and then we ask them to move that forward.
I'll run through the committee first, talk about the end. Nick, questions?
No, I have no questions on this.
I think we talked about this last meeting, that's how we were breaking it up. This is just to keep because we're gonna try to, we want to get all three going at one time. So this is just a formality, so, public have any questions? Yes?
So did you say we're using a new company for the roof, to fix the roof at Valley?
No. Valley Roof, Crest, and South Hills would all be through SiteLogic, who has been doing the current projects.
Right. But shouldn't, I mean, this is new classrooms that are not usable right now. As a consumer, if that was my house, I would be going back and saying, you're gonna fix this for free.
So the new roof was not part of the scope of the current project. KCBA did a study in 2020 that led to our projects and what we're gonna do. And they had given us an estimate that 5 to 7 years later, so 2025 to 2027, that they said we would need to coat the roof. So you put a new roof on, you get 30 years. You don't replace that roof after 30 years. You put a coating on it, extend it another 20 years or so, right? So what happened is this is an original roof to Valley that had a coating put on it, and really it's end of life. And back in 2020, the projection was we'd get 5 to 7 years out of it. So when we priced the projects in 2020 and in 2022, the anticipation was the roof would be done a few years later. The reality is once you start going up there and putting new mechanicals and work, running up and down on top of the roofs, the roof's in not as good a condition as was anticipated. So we are at this point that we are going to replace.
So 2020 is when the coating was put on it, before?
No, the coating's older than that. That's when the study was done of all of our facilities.
Oh.
And they estimated that we'd get 5 to 7 more years out of it. Didn't happen to be the case.
When they gave you the estimate, did they know you were doing the renovations that were gonna be happening?
Well, they were analyzing all of our facilities and saying, here's the condition of all your facilities, here's what we recommend. So they were ones to recommend, here's the facilities you should do first. And they had a rating system to identify what's the most priority. Because to do everything that's in that recommendation today, and that really, their rating was 5 to 7 years down the road is what you need to do. So their recommendation wasn't that it needed to be done immediately.
We're gonna be discussing the Indian Valley next as a specific topic.
Yeah, the roof will be
Okay.
discussed next, yeah.
Yes.
Another question?
To piggyback off of James, why would you use the same company if the roof didn't last?
Well,
It's not the same company, ma'am.
First of all,
The existing roof is there. SiteLogic is the contractor that's running the renovation now. They didn't do the roof that's up there that's leaking. They're going to help us repair the roof.
So they're saying that they.
So the original roof didn't do that. They're not doing the job. Okay. So this is a different, we're just using them to put the new roof on. They're there already. They know the scope.
Just this week, SiteLogic helped us retain the roofer that fixed the section with the music room and the tech ed room, which those rooms are usable. And
They're not.
yes,
They're not as of today. The kids weren't in them as of today.
they were in there today. They were in there today.
Well, then our students are lying to us?
Right. They weren't. There were kids today in hallways,
The leaks stopped. The leaks are stopped.
The leaks stopped today,
but they're still not able to be in the room.
but they will be going back in.
Okay, but it's been 3 days already that they've been out, and people in the tech ed classes have not been able, they don't have the equipment that they need to work on their projects in the library.
They will.
So unfortunately, we've had record rainfall this month, and we're unfortunately having a triage situation, and we're handling it the best we can. Unfortunately, once you have that leak, it's not like there's a hole that you can patch.
No, I
there's
I
water
get that,
insulation,
honestly.
so unfortunately, we're managing the best we can. We anticipate that most of those classrooms will be back and fully operational by Friday. And
Honestly, my issue is with the company that said that we would be able to get 5 or 6. I know that it's not an exact science, but this is really bad.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, we're not using it. That architect that did the study, we're not using
It
it.
is frustrating.
That is helpful.
It is frustrating.
So, and SiteLogic is the company that re-roofed Indian Crest 2 years ago, and that job went great, and there's been no leaks in it.
Okay, so the architect that
It's gone.
screwed us will not be being used anymore.
Correct.
Well, that gives me a little hope. Yes.
Unfortunately, part of the pond, it's water under the bridge. Okay? But we will get those kids back in those rooms. They're usable as of tonight. Let's just hope I mean, we've had record rainfall. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. We're supposed to get more this weekend.
Yeah,
And
we
it
are,
also
And then
is-
again Monday.
When you do a renovation to a building, you all have had work on your houses, you know, stuff happens that it's unpredicted, okay? And this is one that you try to plan everything accordingly, you know, the roof up there is pitched correctly, there's a lot of issues with it that will get addressed with the new roof. And unfortunately, we're doing a renovation and this happened, okay? Nobody planned this. The administration, you know, I've been there, I've walked it. I walked the building last week with the administration. I've talked to the contractors, I've talked to everybody, and they're doing the best they can, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem, I agree, I mean, everybody's doing the best they can, and even like, you guys, like, I don't blame you, no, you know, at least most of you in this room aren't the experts on this, but my problem is that these experts didn't know what they were talking about, and now our kids have basically lost, you know, 2-3 days of class time already. And then there's like buckets hanging from the ceiling that worries me.
we're remedying that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.